Looking around us today, who will ever believe that we are the progenies of long generations of men who prided themselves on great farming? Our grandfathers and great grandfathers once measured their wealth according to the amount or quantity of yam and livestock they had. These items were in abundance and accounted for the number of wives and children they had. In less than a century, we have had a total reversal of fortune, so to speak. An unfortunate truth today is that we are dependent on the North and other external regions for the supply of what was once our staple food. The North that we have often looked down on have the ingenuity and foresight to adopt our staple food and industrialize it together with other staple foods, consequently determining price and essentially profiting from our laxity and lack of vision. The hardships and high mortality rate we are experiencing today, in my opinion, have a direct link to the cost of living. No matter how civilized, how educated, how advanced any society is, one thing will always remain mutual, or rather common, and that is the need for food. This is what many of our past leaders have for decades grossly misunderstood or faintly paid attention by excluding meaningful agriculture from their main development plans when it should be an intrinsic part of it. The consequential outcome of this phenomenon is the never-ending desire or rush to erect visible structures to win public approval as evidence of good performance, when the very people who use these facilities, the general public they are meant for, are tired, torn, and basically withered by poor nutrition and hunger. And if we must recover from this dark period of existence, we must take profound steps to revamp our way of farming. We must embrace agriculture at a very robust level, an industrial scale that ensures a considerable decline or reduction in the price of food. It is very unfortunate that we have to rely on imported chicken to feed our ever-rising population. China's great agricultural revolution, commenced by Mao, inspired the nation to even excel in its industrial base, leading to the superpower China is today. I have heard the argument in some quarters that we do not have the land like the North, but I beg to differ. Imo State and other Igbo states have all that it would take to push for massive agricultural output annually. What is lacking is the foresight to invest robustly in agriculture. We have enough land to engage in livestock farming on an industrial scale that will bring down food prices, ensure good nutrition for our people, and equally create the desperately needed jobs. And while this is not traditionally a direct responsibility of government, it now has a huge role to play since it is the largest owner of investment capital. So government must take the lead and assemble industrialists in Imo State to commence a new way of farming that is akin to the advanced nations of the world, providing the financial resources and other tools. We cannot continue on the kind of subsistence farming that is outdated and unproductive. Rather, we should seek new ways of increasing productivity that is essentially guaranteed to sufficiently feed our people and leave much to be exported. It is rather outrageous to see the cost of meat in our markets today. Considering the overall income of many of our families, it is practically impossible for many families to afford meat that is essentially necessary for a healthy body. And everyone knows that a prolonged unbalanced diet further erodes or compromises the ability of our bodies to fight elements. And I sincerely believe that this problem, at least in part, does impact our mortality rate as well as lead to other prevailing diseases. So any measures directed to alleviate it is a life-saving measure, and government responsibility in this quest cannot be denied. Substantial investment in agricultural technology is of paramount importance, beginning with crop protection from diseases, weather conditions, and environmental hazards that include pests. We must create a strong awareness of the need to take our farming to a new level. The urgency of preserving certain food crops and prevent their total extinction is important. Soybean, breadfruit, and a host of other food crops should be extensively studied and farmed constantly on industrial scales, or we face the prospect of losing them completely. Their genetic makeups can be tweaked to improve their quality as well as increase their sizes. Besides being our traditional food items, they are sources of revenue over time. The bananas and plantains we take for granted here at home are huge sources of revenue for many South American countries in the West. These are huge industries. Every food crop here in our region has the potential to generate millions of dollars and pounds if we invest the time and resources to improve their productivity. Given the increasing human population, we cannot afford to continue being lax on food production. My opinion is that the food industry in the state, if properly organized, has the potential to eliminate unemployment in this region of our country. Fishing, livestock, planting are all industries waiting to be explored. Our proximity to the ocean in Port Harcourt offers us the opportunity to invest in fishing vessels, while those who are capable of raising fish within their homes should be incentivized with government assistance in many forms, from finance to expertise. Commercial fishing is a huge industry as well as helps attract other servicing industries. With a large commercial fishing industry, the need for maritime security arises, further spurring jobs. And we need not limit ourselves to available lands within our region. We can slowly acquire lands anywhere in the nation and even beyond our nation for farming. I remember as a young man living in Lagos, how northern men engaged in tomatoes and carrot farming in the middle of Lagos. And it's most likely that they are still doing it today. So we need not search very far to see the difference human will can make if it is evoked. Siblings, that is creativity, and they are no better than we are, except that we continue to misplace our priorities. There are transparent reasons the North has become the major sources of food, and it's not the availability of land. Our grandfathers and forefathers were agriculturally productive, produced enough food to feed their much larger families with the same portion of land, and the land that left behind for us has not been much diminished by development that we want to blame our inabilities on land. Rather, we have long chosen to abandon their way of life in certain areas and seek less challenging means of livelihood. While many of us will argue and fight over traditional practices, we tend to fulfill that part of our tradition that gave us, as our forefathers, wealth and fame. If we must endure as a people, food must be in abundance and its price most affordable. The high cost of today's food items is irresponsibility on our part, an oversight of our failure, and has already caused many untimely deaths. Malnutrition and sometimes starvation are two accompanying agents of our increases in mortality rate. If we do not begin to emulate the North and other nations in agriculture, we take a huge risk. I remember in the 90s when South Korea was faced with an epidemic in livestock. While this was troubling, the world was reassured that the nation had over 3 million livestock in reserve. This is how a nation prepares itself for the unforeseen. Can we assure that in this region of the nation? Can we produce more than enough for daily consumption and save for future uncertainties? Do we even care to make plans for the future? Siblings, there's so much we are daily ignoring. Our plans and goals lack comprehensiveness. That to me is mediocrity, and I sincerely believe we can do much better in planning our society. I see no reason a cup of gari should exceed 5 naira. I see no reason a full chicken should exceed 200 naira. I see no reason a goat should exceed 1,000 naira. I see no reason a car should exceed 5,000 naira. And I can spend the rest of this speech informing you about my expectations. And one thing I will make clear here and now is that if I have my way, I will set my goals towards achieving these price ranges. One way to do this is by mass production, and I will make food what it is, a basic, affordable necessity. Western farmers are constantly subsidized, and I will not hesitate to subsidize our farmers to increase productivity to levels that instantly reduce prices. Make available every tools, equipment, and expertise to achieve these goals. Mechanized farming ought to be the new way of farming, and I believe you all understand the whole gamut of this system of agriculture, and need not educate you any further. Every town will be encouraged to raise enough livestock for its local consumption. A huge investment in the cow industry for both meat and milk is essential. Milk is an essential product needed for both adults and children, so milk industries are not far-fetched. Great emphasis will be placed on this initiative to make milk and meat available to every man, woman, and child. Community stores, specially designed and powered by the new energy sources of solar, wind, and so forth, will be established with good distribution systems. Individuals can pay on a monthly basis and have the food items directly delivered to their homes. This will eliminate the inherent market corruption and unreasonable price hiking. Where it is most necessary, we will consider new scientific ways of increasing reproduction, including cloning and in vitro fertilization. Japan has been able to quadruple reproduction in animals using technological means that are relatively inexpensive. It has also engaged in initiative to reclaim desert lands for farming. We already buy products from Japan and other nations, and all we have to do is to prioritize our needs and actualize our greatest ambitions. We cannot continue to produce food locally in low quantities and set prices to commensurate with the value of the dollar and the pound. Our prices must be determined by our local supply and demand, by the ratio of individual income. And where it is most glaring that the cost of labor will drive food prices higher, government incentive to the producers or manufacturers is necessitated. In the West, the lifespan of chicken from the moment it is hatched to the moment it's ready for food is less than 90 days. They are fed with unique protein substances to encourage quick growth. While I do not subscribe to this method of using overwhelming substances, first because of the uncertainties of health risks, I strongly believe we can increase livestock production in labs using incubators, other methods, while still keeping our food organic. I have had a small window to see what the present government is doing. While I must say it is not fully comprehensive, I believe it's very early for criticism. Let us exercise great patience until the day is done and we can count our chicken. Meanwhile, let us all seek ways to contribute meaningfully to his success, for our lives and future depend on it. And before I leave you, I must take this opportunity to express my disgust at the way both German authorities and our Nigerian embassy have handled the violent death of Mr. Steve Uhewu in the hands of his landlord in Germany. The embassy has the utmost responsibility to demand for justice as well as ensure a decent burial for this young man and his wife who were brutally assassinated. The world media will not give it any coverage because the Nigerian government for decades dispatched the erroneous message or sign that the lives of Nigerians amount to nothing. Can anyone imagine the global outcry if a German couple was suddenly assassinated in Nigeria by those who intimately know them? Government has always undertaken certain tasks on humanitarian grounds. And if our government cannot move on a case of this ugly and barbaric nature against her citizens outside the main diaspora, I wonder what our government can stand for. Thank you, and may God bless you.